We're back with another War of the Worlds video. Today's one has got a lot of juicy content, so all I have to say is buckle in. Before we start, I want to say a big thank you to all of the new subscribers and people that have checked out my videos recently. I just went up by another 100 subscribers in about 10 days, which for me, you know, my channel size, that's a pretty rapid increase. So thank you for checking out my channel, and I really appreciate all the comments and the feedback on my videos. So the first thing I wanted to mention in this video is I wanted to touch on the warrior class tripod a little bit more, or as some of you like to say, the Uberpod. After my last video, I had some comments and some private messages on Discord with some in-game screenshots showing that the warrior class tripod is in fact in the game already. And something I didn't realise was that the ferry scene in the game that the developer has recreated has actually got the warrior tripod in it. So if you take a look at this screenshot, you can see in the background what looks like a warrior tripod. Now, I can't really see the harvesting equipment here, but it could have just not been rendered in, as this screenshot is back from January. So, big thanks to Carl the Gamer for sending me this on Discord. But yeah, it does look like the harvester and, well, it might have the harvesting equipment. It looks like it might do. I'm not 100%, but it does look like, when you look at the shape of it, it does look like the warrior. Of course, if this being confirmed to be in the game, this presents me with a question. Will this tripod be a bit overpowered compared to the others? Now maybe, but on the flip side, they should be overpowered, right? You know, the game isn't meant to be easy. I do wonder if the warrior will get balanced slightly, because, you know, having both heat rays and harvesting equipment makes it pretty deadly. But perhaps, you know, it will be slightly slower than the other tripods, as they do seem to be a bit bigger, and maybe its mobility will be impacted. You know, it might take longer for it to turn around, for example. Who knows, it might just be, you know, just as nimble as the others. Either way, I'm kind of fine with it because, you know, the game needs to be a challenge. Otherwise, it will just be boring. You know, if surviving wasn't difficult, that's kind of half the game's, you know, selling point almost gone, you know? The next thing I wanted to talk about was the development progress. So the lead developer, Raf, has posted a changelog so we can see what he's been up to lately. This is on Discord. And I've picked out, you know, the things that I find the most interesting that he's been working on. Firstly, I wanted to say that I actually posted on the game's Discord server recently about how it would be interesting if a tripod had humans in its cages. So, like, you know, also if it had humans in its cages, you could hear people as it walks past, you know, you could hear people crying for help, you know, coming from the cages, and, you know, screams of terror and things like that. You know, just imagine the sheer horror element of that. As you see a tripod walk by, you just hear people screaming. It would be super creepy, but also really awesome at the same time. Just that level of detail. Well, I've been chatting to the lead developer, Raf, and he's told me that he has now added that as a feature. Now, I don't know if that was something that he was going to add anyway, but I'd like to think that I had some kind of sway in that. He's also made the tentacles a bit less glitchy and more smooth. However, it is still a work in progress. The red weed that you see in the film and that, they will spread gradually throughout the map, which is a really nice touch. The tripod's field of view has also been changed, meaning that they are much more aware of their surroundings and they're subsequently more dangerous. This means it will be harder to hide from them and escape their view. As well as that, more tripod changes, their heads and that won't snap onto targets, you know, anymore, as well as the spotlights and the heat rays. So everything will look a lot smoother and it won't be as jumpy. Gameplay wise, you can now kill NPCs and loot their bodies, which is awesome. This will definitely encourage some human PvP, which will make an extra challenge and just keep the game a bit more interesting. And, you know, if there's no aliens around, you might be able to, you know, take on other people. You never know. Oh yeah, here's one more interesting thing actually about the tripod. So initially, in the early days of the game, only the heat ray tripods will spawn, but as time goes on, you'll start to see more harvesters spawning in. Now, I spoke to Raf, the developer, and, you know, to find out when the warriors will be spawning in, as they are a mix of both types. And he said that he's aiming for them to start spawning around days 2 to 4, which is pretty scary if you ask me, because it's quite early on, but, you know, I'm all for it. Bring it.
If you want some, I'll give it you.
You know, I want to see how it plays. You know, you can always tweak things later on. If the game's broken, when it starts getting, you know, tested by people, then it can adjust, you know, so it's not too much of a worry to me. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, how that plays out. There's been improved scaling between humans, buildings and vehicles, general improvements to graphics, mostly for the, you know, the terrain. For example, stuff like grass is all hand painted now, so the terrain will be a bit more it'll be a bit more detailed, hopefully. That was something that did seem to lack in the graphics department from what I've seen. You know, woodland and that looked a bit bland, so it'll be interesting to see how much better the terrain looks now. So as you can see, there's been a huge amount of progress on the game, and this isn't even everything on the list. This is just stuff that I found the most interesting and stuff that I thought you would find interesting. There's a whole list of stuff that he's done on the game, just things that I think are more interesting in the video sense is what I've listed. But yeah, there's a lot of work being done on this game, a lot of progress is being made. Now moving on to a question I got in the comments of a previous video, I was asked about the storyline and if there would be one. So there will not be a story mode, but it will feature certain sequences from the 2005 film, such as when you see the lightning storms, there'll be plane crashes, you got the ferry scene, but 90% of the game is just a completely open world game where you survive how you want, and there'll just be certain bits that reference the film. One feature I'd like to see, which I asked about in the game's Discord, but was quickly informed that it likely wouldn't be in, was AI learning. So if the aliens spotted you and you ran into a building and say out the other side to evade capture and you slipped away, and let's say you did that a few times, next time when you try running into a building, instead of the aliens sending down a probe to look for you, they might look around the area instead to see if they can spot you slipping away, and if they don't see you, then they would send a probe down and go back to where they last saw you. Just something like that to keep you on your toes, you know, just shows the AI adapting. However, it turns out that AI learning might be a bit too much for the developer to program, which, you know, I can understand, and also as the in-game days go by, the aliens will start to get sick and die off anyway, so having them learn and get better wouldn't really make a lot of sense. It's just something that I thought would be interesting. What would be really good though is if the AI humans had some sort of basic intelligence, like you had some humans that were clever enough to hide in buildings and loot items for themselves. You know, you can see random humans just running around scavenging, meaning, you know, you might be struggling to find resources and be more tempted to kill other humans to get the items for yourself. Now, I'm not sure how difficult that would be to program, but it certainly would add to the atmosphere and the immersion. Be sure to let me know in the comments what features you'd like to see in the final game, as I'd be very interested to see what other people could think of that would be, you know, good additions to the game. You know, if you think you have a really good suggestion, it might be an idea to join the game's Discord server, which if you go onto the game's YouTube channel, which is linked below, if you open a video, you'll see a link in their description to their server, and they actually have a suggestions channel where I can confirm the developer does listen and he acts on good ideas. So if you think you've got a brilliant idea, put it in that suggestions channel on their Discord, because you never know, it might make it into the game. Also, since we're on the topic of Discord servers, I also have a Discord server, which at the moment is quite small, and I want to build the numbers up there and develop the server a bit more. It is a bit basic, but I will be posting announcements there and previews to videos, as well as announcing when a video goes live. You'll also get to chat to me one-on-one there, so if you want to join it, there's a link in the description of this video or on my channel page if you want to join that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like, as it does help me out a bunch with the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to see more videos like this, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and enable notifications, because then you'll be notified when I release a new video. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.